It's hockey night tonight. Tension grows, the whistle blows, and the puck goes down the ice. The goalie jumps and the players bump and the fans all go insane. Someone roars, Bobby scores at the good old hockey game. Oh, the good old hockey game is the best game you can name. And the best game you can name is the good old hockey game.
Coming up on this week's Faceoff, mass hysteria combined with a little chaos, all occurring within the last week.
Across the line, they storm the crease like bumblebees. They travel like a burning flame. We see them slide the puck inside. It's a 1-1 hockey game. Oh,
hello, everybody, and welcome to this Wednesday edition of the Faceoff, USC's only weekly radio hockey show. I'm your host, Graham Jenkins. I could not broadcast on Monday, my normal time slot, because of 24-hour jazz programming here at KXSC. But today, I will discuss, later on the show, two big trades that involve the Pittsburgh Penguins, and I will also discuss a team that wanted Today on this show, I will discuss two big trades involving the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Dallas Stars, and I will also discuss exactly what goes on in a trade. But let's begin with a trade that involved the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Calgary Flames. If you excuse me, I have the wrong outline for some reason on here. Here we go. Here's the problem. Okay, I apologize for that. The computer, for some reason, uploaded the wrong outline. I have the right one in front of me now. The only way you would have not heard about this trade was if you were either on vacation away from all forms of media or if you just don't follow hockey. And if you fall into that latter category, shame on you. Just kidding. Anyway, that being said, almost everybody involved in hockey, fans, media, and Roberto Luongo and Paul Bissonnette, were tuned in to find out what was going to happen with the Calgary Flames captain Jarome Iginla. As soon as it was announced, he was scratched from last Wednesday's game against the Colorado Avalanche. Not too long after Iginla was scratched, the Providence Bruins, Boston Bruins' AHL affiliate, scratched forwards Alexander Koklachev and Matt Bartkowski from their game against the Portland Pirates. This triggered speculation that the Boston Bruins and the Calgary Flames were in the midst of a trade that would send Iginla to Boston and Bartkowski and Koklachev to the Flames organization. TSN was carrying both the Canadiens Bruins game and the Avalanche Flames game for their Wednesday night hockey coverage. And TSN had a camera pointed at Flames general manager Jay Feaster in the press box. As soon as the Canadiens Bruins game ended, Feaster was seen hanging up his phone and getting out of his chair in the press box. And at that point, everybody watching thought, all right, it's going down now. Iginla is going to Boston. Then a few hours later, TSN's Aaron Ward, who is a very reliable source, mind you, said a deal between Boston and Calgary was done. The reported deal between these two teams was Koklachev, Bartkowski, and a conditional first-round pick to Calgary in exchange for Iginla. The condition on the first-round pick was whether or not Iginla would resign with Boston. And if Iginla didn't resign, Boston wouldn't give up the pick. TSN's Bob McKenzie also reported on the deal, but the keyword he wrote in his tweet was unconfirmed. This will play out later on in this story. So, many sports news outlets ran with this story, with Yahoo's Puck Daddy and ESPN SportsCenter to be two of the biggest to report on it in America. TSN even told viewers that the Bruins, during the Flames Avalanche game, that the Bruins had reportedly acquired Iginla, citing Aaron Ward's report. Boston fans went to bed thinking they got Iginla, but near 1:30 a.m. Eastern Time, another team had dropped the ultimate bombshell, shocking everybody. After all the speculation regarding Iginla going to Boston, the Pittsburgh Penguins tweeted that they acquired Jarome Iginla in exchange for their 2013 first-round pick and NCAA players Ben Hanowski and Kenny Agostino. Penguins general manager Ray Shero caught everybody by surprise and seemingly stole Iginla from Boston. How exactly did the Penguins get Iginla and not the Bruins? Well, it turns out that while Iginla listed 3 teams he would have waived his no-trade clause for, which were Boston, Pittsburgh, and Los Angeles, he didn't want to go to Boston, and apparently he had a lot to say in this trade. Regardless, this story was going to demand a lot of explaining because it appeared like the Bruins and Flames had a completed deal. It turns out Bruins general manager Peter Chiarelli thought the deal was done. In a press conference the next day, Chiarelli said, "A few days before we had submitted a firm offer with those 2 players, Alexander Kokochev and Matt Barkowski, and we were informed around noon yesterday that we had the player. We won the sweepstakes, so to speak." Chiarelli then revealed Iginla rejected the deal between Boston and Calgary, saying around 11:45, this is 12 at night, "I got a call from Jay saying that it was the player's choice and he opted to go to Pittsburgh, so we were out." In response to Chiarelli's comments, Feaster blamed Iginla. He explained that while he understood that a player with a no-trade clause has the right to waive it to go to a team he chooses, the Flames would deal with the teams Iginla listed to the team's management. Feaster continued, "We had a deal with Boston that we liked. We certainly felt that that would have been an acceptable way for us to go as an organization. The player indicated that he wanted to be with Pittsburgh, and so we got a deal done with Pittsburgh." In other words, Feaster said Iginla forced them to make a trade that they didn't like just so he could be happy. Can the journalists who reported on the supposed deal between Boston and Calgary be blamed for spreading bad information? Not exactly. Their information was correct, but then suddenly it wasn't. However, Aaron Ward took it upon himself to show accountability to his Twitter followers by saying, "Apologies, had multiple sources confirm a trade that did not happen." Bob McKenzie did the same thing, writing, "To be clear, no excuses. Our group at TSN, of which I'm part of, regrets making a reporting error tonight. Apologies to our audience." Good on these 2 journalists to show that they hold themselves accountable even in the most extreme circumstances, because really, nobody was prepared for what happened that night. Regardless of how Iginla left Pittsburgh, let's remark on what he did with the Flames. Up until March 27th, when he was traded, he spent all 16 years of his career in Calgary. Iginla was initially the 11th overall pick by the Dallas Stars in the 1995 NHL Draft. The Flames acquired Iginla and Corey Millen on December 19, 1995, in a blockbuster trade that sent superstar Joe Nieuwendyk to the Dallas Stars after Nieuwendyk could not come to terms on a new contract with the Flames. Iginla played 1,219 games with the Flames, scoring 525 goals and 570 assists for 1,095 career points in what should be a Hall of Fame career. He won the Art Ross Trophy in 2002 for most points in the 2001-2002 season, thanks to 52 goals and 44 assists for 96 points. There's going to be a lot more numbers coming your way. He also won the Rocket Richard Trophy that season for scoring the most goals in 2001-2002, as well as the Lester B. Pearson Trophy as the NHL's most outstanding player as voted by the NHLPA. He won the Rocket Richard Trophy again after the 2003-2004 season by leading the league in goals scored with 41. That same season, he won the King Clancy Memorial Trophy, given to the player who best exemplifies leadership qualities on and off the ice. He won another leadership award in 2008-2009, the Mark Messier NHL Leadership Award. Iginla led the Flames to the 2004 Stanley Cup Finals against the Tampa Bay Lightning, but came up short in a 7-game series that still remains controversial. He has 2 Olympic gold medals playing for Team Canada, one in 2002 in Salt Lake City and one in 2010 in Vancouver. He will be looking to add to those gold medals, by getting hockey's ultimate prize, Lord Stanley's Cup. While Iginla arrived to Calgary to eventually replace a star player in Joe Nieuwendyk, whether or not the same can be said about the return Jay Feaster got for Iginla's departure remains to be seen. Sure, the addition of Pittsburgh's first-round pick gives Calgary 2 first-round picks this year, But if Pittsburgh wins the Stanley Cup, which they're gearing up to do, that's going to be the 30th overall pick. Players picked in the lower first round aren't expected to crack the NHL roster immediately. And on average, they aren't seen in the NHL until 2 years later, pending a positive development. Calgary is 14th in the Western Conference right now and 28th in the league standings. This was as of Sunday. That might have changed. And if they continue their poor play, they possibly will draft first overall and select Seth Jones of the Portland Winterhawks. There's Death for Seth. These are the monikers that fans are coming up. Death for Seth, Stop Winning for McKinnon. Seth Jones has been widely reported to be selected first overall, but they're going to have to compete with the Florida Panthers to get Seth Jones or Nathan McKinnon. That would be great for Calgary, but they're not receiving that pick in this trade. Let's now discuss the other pieces of this trade. The NCAA prospects Pittsburgh gave up, and Kenny Agostino and Ben Hanowski. Agostino was drafted 140th overall in the 5th round of the NHL draft in 2010. He has played the last 3 years at Yale University, who are currently in the Frozen Four in the NCAA tournament, set to play UMass Lowell on April 11th. The Frozen Four is hockey's Final Four, for those of you wondering. In 99 regular season games with Yale, scoring 42 goals and 57 assists for 99 regular season points, Hanowski's been pretty good for Yale. Agostino has been pretty good for Yale. Ben Hanowski was drafted 63rd overall in the 3rd round of the 2009 NHL draft and has played the last 4 years at St. Cloud State University. In 124 regular season games with St. Cloud State, Hanowski has scored 62 goals and 51 assists for a total of 113 regular season points. St. Cloud State is also in the NCAA Frozen Four and will play number 1 seed Quinnipiac on April 11th. Not a knock on either of these two players, but they weren't necessarily Pittsburgh's top prospects. But it's also understandable that Pittsburgh wasn't willing to give up blue-chip prospects like Simon Desprez and Derek Pouliot without acquiring a draft pick themselves for a rental player like Iginla. Hanowski and Agostino could very well have solid careers in the NHL, but we won't know for sure until a year later at the minimum. One of the best Iginla off-ice stories occurred during the 2002 Winter Olympics in Salt Lake City. In the 2002 Olympics, he met with 4 college students at a restaurant from the University of Calgary who drove all the way from Calgary to Salt Lake City to watch the Olympics. These students drove to Salt Lake City on a spur-of-the-moment decision and slept 2 nights in their car. Iginla met with these students for about 10 minutes, went back to his table to finish his meal, and then came back to their table 20 minutes later and said he not only found them a hotel room, but that he was going to pay the bill. He didn't have to do any of that, but out of the goodness of his heart, he showed exactly how much of a true character he is and how much of a leader he is in that story. During last Friday's game against the Columbus Blue Jackets, the Flames, played a video tribute to Iginla, thanking him for what he did with the Flames. The fans gave him a rousing standing ovation for Iginla, and he leaves Calgary as the franchise's all-time leader in points. When Iginla's career eventually does come to a close, expect to see him in the Hall of Fame and the number 12 hanging from the rafters in Calgary. Coming up next, the Dallas Stars have a fire sale.